We're at the Jane Addams Whole House at the UIC campus. We were told to come here by Prexy Nesbitt, our professor, part of the Nelson Mandela and the Anti-Apartheid Movement class.
So I actually always wanted to come to the Whole House, and now I know it's super close by, so I can come up here and actually go to the museum, which is really cool.
Her work, and particularly her book, Fighting Two Colonialisms, inspired my undergraduate honors thesis on women in the liberation struggle in Guinea-Bissau.
What was key to me in terms of being a journalist was my desire to bring the voices of women out. So I really began to think about how that process evolved.
I gained a lot of insight from actually listening to the speaker talk. It ties perfectly into what we're learning.
Being able to hear someone speak who wrote a book that we're reading in class really brings the material to life.
We had both Columbia students and UIC students interacting, and so we got to hear two different thoughts. And since they're two different classes, they have a different way of coming into this lecture, so they're asking different questions that I wouldn't have thought about.
Our learning expands more than just a Columbia building. It expands to all of Chicago. I feel like a lot of the lessons I've learned, especially a lot of life lessons, have been in the city of Chicago itself. Chicago as a whole is teaching us, not just Columbia.
We are at the beautiful Shed Aquarium to have an office visit
for our portfolio professional development class.
We were taken in through the loading dock so we could go all the way up to the offices.
And we talked about projects that they're going through now, projects coming up. We met their other departments that they work with closely and collaborated with.
They work hand in hand with the marketing team and planning exhibits and events, which was really cool to check out.
It feels good to just get out of the classroom, not be stuck behind a computer all day.
Our goal is to graduate and get a job, and you don't learn about that unless you see people who have graduated and gotten jobs.
Before I thought a lot about working at a large firm, but once I saw that they have multiple assignments, I would prefer a smaller firm to work in.
To see a nonprofit and an aquarium actually do so much good, and it was cool. Then you come to something like this and you say, oh, this is actually right up my alley.
I'm a student in Anne-Marie Mitchell's Strategic Media Relations class, and we're here visiting Reputation Partners to learn more about media training. This was more of an immersive experience, getting up and volunteering and being a part of these different exercises.
I was a part of an activity with pitching a story to a TV news producer. It was intimidating. Kind of made you realize that if you're doing it for real, the kind of preparation you would want to put into it before you just picked up the phone.
Something new that I learned are just a lot of different tips to be successful as a media training specialist in public relations.
The point of us being here as undergrads like Columbia is to get a job. I think it's great when classes utilize the city that we're in to give us hands-on experience.
You might have all these expectations and fears and things, but when you're actually here, you face reality and you say, oh, it's like any other space. You just come here, you work, and you do the best you can.
This is the Evolution of Sex honors class, and we're at the Lincoln Park Zoo today.
We're studying the social and sexual behaviors of different animals, and we're testing a hypothesis using an ethogram. We're seeing which of those behaviors any animal that we pick will exhibit.
We were introduced to some of the white-cheeked gibbons.
Our professor, Michelle, has a background here. She worked with these gibbons for, I believe, 12 years.
I decided to test out my hypothesis that the young gibbon will spend more time with the mom than playing with the dad. I'm not sure if that's true yet, so I'll find out.
I love field trips. Personally, if I could just do field trips for classes, that would be perfect.
I don't like being in a classroom a lot, and I like moving around a lot. So right now, this is great. I'm super awake. I'm gonna be great for the rest of the day.
I'm a student in advertising workshop, and we are at the Leo Burnett Creative Agency.
Today we are here to learn a little bit more about the agency life itself and just get a feel for the company altogether.
So we all met in a very large, beautiful lobby.
Went into a presentation room where we watched some slideshows of the work Leo has produced, learned a lot about the company. They took some alumni from Columbia who also work at Leo Burnett, talked about themselves, talked about the company.
I knew Leo Burnett was a big agency, but definitely how many employees they have and floors is insane.
I think field trips like this, especially when you're talking to people who have been in your exact footsteps, they give you really good life advice.
There are so many directions to go when you're in college. It definitely, you don't know till you really experience it.
I'm a student in Intro to Horticulture, and we are at the Garfield Park Conservatory. For like the first part of class, we'll have a lecture from Coach, and then for the second part of class, we'll be able to explore the Garfield Park Conservatory, and Coach will talk about the lesson of the day and try to apply it to something in the conservatory.
A lot of learning about the different aspects of plants, how they're grown, what different types of plants are, how to restore and keep them in good health.
Coach is a great teacher. He's really passionate about what he teaches.
I love plants, and when I saw that this was one of my options to come to like Garfield Park Conservatory and learn here, I immediately was like, I have to do it.
I mean, it's not every day that you get to come into like a mini jungle to learn.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the second Facebook Live Q&A of the 2018-2019 school year. For those of us who are joining us for the first time, I'm Alex Nelson, the social media coordinator for the admissions department and the moderator for tonight's panel. This is your chance to hear from our staff panelists, featuring members from admissions, student financial services, the career center, and the advising center. This is your time to ask the questions that are most important to you. In addition to our panelists, admissions staff will also be moderating the comments and answering your questions as best they can. And now, without further ado, let's meet our panelists. David, do you mind kicking us off?
Yes, my name is David Sprasio. I'm the coordinator of Outreach and Education in Student Financial Services.
Hi everyone, my name is Selena Tucker. I'm an academic advisor with the College Advising Center, and I work with television and filmmaking students primarily.
Hi everyone, I'm Rikruta Pasi. I am the Associate Director of Local Admissions in the Admissions Office here at Columbia.
Hi everyone, I'm Dirk Matthews, Associate Director of Portfolio and Career Integration in the Career Center here at Columbia College.
All right, thank you folks. So I'd like to get started by talking a little bit about academics at Columbia, and specifically double majoring, particularly when you're interested in two totally different things. Selena, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, double majoring. So it is possible, for sure. The main piece to remember is that most students generally will go for a Bachelor's of Arts degree, which is 120 total credits. So think about your degree being in three parts: your LAS core, which is your gen ed, your major, and also including your second major, and then your college-wide electives. So if you think about it that way, there is some wiggle room to have some additional credits. But do know sometimes you would have to students will have to stay longer if they end up adding a second major. So keep that in mind. It's possible, but it's all a part of the numbers and how you add everything up and when you attend to graduate.
All right, so I think we should start with one of the big heavy hitters, which is financial aid. David, can you please talk a little bit about the FAFSA and what students need to do to get that through to Columbia College?
Yes, if you haven't done your FAFSA already, it opened up on October 1st, and that's for the next academic year coming up, 1920. When you do the FAFSA, just know you always use prior year income information. So you'll be putting in your 2017 income information, and your parents, if they apply, you'll use their 2017 income information also. If you're able to, we always highly recommend you use the data retrieval tool if it applies to you, or it takes you straight to the federal government's website, and then you can import that income information into the FAFSA. And then when you're done, you just make sure you add Columbia's school code. Ours is 001665, and then just sign and submit.
Great, thank you so much. I also want to talk about one of the ways that you can get scholarships here at Columbia College Chicago. So portfolios, which are due a little bit later on. Marie, can you talk a little bit about portfolios? And then if you folks have anything else you'd like to jump in and add, please do so.
Sure. So if you're looking at our requirements for the application for Columbia, you know we accept the Common App and we also have our own application. Portfolios along with test scores are two of those things that are optional. So they're things you don't necessarily have to submit to Columbia. But in admissions, we really recommend that all students submit creative work in order to receive the max possible scholarship award. So the creative work that you're going to submit it digitally, and it's going to relate to what you want to study at Columbia. You're going to do that through your application. You don't have to do that at the time of applying to the college, but you need to do it at latest by mid-January, because that is when the deadline is for all students who want to be considered for the Faculty Recognition Award. So main things you want to submit to be considered for scholarship and for the max possible scholarship, like David said, your FAFSA and also any creative work samples.
Folks have anything to add?
No.
Great. So we have a question here. How can staff and faculty connect students to internship opportunities?
I'd be happy to take that one. First off, a lot of the faculty and staff here at the college already have existing connections to the creative industries. So most of our staff and faculty do work or have worked in the field, and so that's an important piece about how the institution works as a whole to build these bridges and connections to the creative industries. The other piece is the Career Center also has a majority of staff who have worked in the creative fields, and we have dedicated internship advisors who are able to work with students as early as freshman year to start planning an internship. Internships don't usually come freshman year, but our team can really work with students to start thinking about what an internship is, what your career goals are, and then find the best opportunity for you. And really look at how we can prepare you and get you set up so when the time is right, you're prepared, ready to go to apply for that internship, and hopefully we get to report a success that you've been hired as an intern at the company you've been long seeking internship in. So.
Sally Sudd has asked a question. She specifically talks about photography, but I think it's something we can broaden to academics overall. Her question is, if you've already had several photography courses in high school, do you need to take basic photography courses? And I think that that's something that generally applies across majors. People want to know if they have some relevant experience in high school courses, whether or not they'll need to take intro classes here at Columbia. Do you want to take that off, Selena?
Yeah, I can take it. Yeah, that's a great question, because you wouldn't want to waste your time with any courses that you feel like you already have the competence for. So it's a fantastic question. What you would have to do is connect with the department. So whatever department that course is in, you would send them a portfolio or any materials just from your experience with that content, and they would review it and they could determine if you should be waived out of like our intro level course. So that's just the first step. Just reach out to any college advisor. Honestly, anyone in admissions can connect you with the advising center, and then we will review your work and the material that you went over before, and then determine if it's worth being waived out of the course or not.
All right. Thank you. That's a wonderful answer. We just got another one. So So what is the typical class size at Columbia? Selena, you know that? Marie?
On average, it's fewer than 17 students. So most of your classes are taught in a very hands-on format. That being said, it's not as if you're just in these traditional classroom spaces. Like, you're going to potentially be in spaces like this, which is a studio where there are a bunch of students here in the audience, and they are working the cameras and they're kind of running the show here. So a small class size really lends itself to students having as much access to equipment, tools, industry standard facilities that they would need, getting the individual attention from their instructor, and being able to, you know, learn things within that class, put those things to work right away, and start doing hands-on work and building a portfolio. So that being said, you need a smaller class size for that. So 17 on average.
Great. Building off of that answer, Marie, can you talk a little bit about some of the facilities that we offer here at Columbia?
Sure. So all of our facilities are industry standard. That's very important to us because the type of student that's really looking to Columbia is the type of student that when they graduate wants to hit the ground running. So we need to prepare students on all fronts, and we do that in a lot of different ways. And one of those ways is letting them have access to industry standard equipment really from their first year at Columbia. So each department has a lot of different facilities. Just speaking in general, one of our largest departments here on campus, which is film. They have sound studios, they have motion capture studios, they have large prop making studios. The photography facilities, there are some of the largest traditional darkroom spaces that exist in the country actually exist here at Columbia. The graphic labs have all of the tools and all of the industry standard types of equipment and things you would need to be successful within your field. Does anyone want to piggyback on some of the other things we offer? I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
There's
Very
a ton.
thorough.
So what, her name is Kit, she's wondering, is there any opportunity for students who do not yet have a defined craft or specialty? Can students be undecided? Marie, that might be another you question.
Yes, any student can apply as undecided. Traditionally, students do kind of have an idea of what they want to do and are going to come in as a declared major. If you are undecided, that's a-okay. You may have kind of two different areas of focus. Say, for instance, you're interested in interior architecture and you're also interested in journalism. It is possible within your first year that you could take classes in both of those areas kind of at the entry level, and then also supplement with your liberal arts and science requirements, so you're not really losing any time. So it's okay to come in as undecided. We want students to kind of test the waters and take advantage of electives and really have academic and creative freedom. Even our declared majors, that's how things are designed for them. So that is okay. And do you have anything to add to that as well in advising undecided students?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just to add on to what you said, it's perfectly fine to be undecided because, as I talked about, the 3 parts of your degree, there's a number of electives you need, and that's a common I guess misunderstanding. Sometimes students come in, they're just like, why do I have to do these gen ed? Why am I doing electives? It's a part of your degree because you're not here for a certificate program, but you're here for a BA degree or sometimes a BFA, a BMUS. But you're here for a degree and there's other components to your degree. So if you take some time to explore, let's say, photo, music, and film, because you don't know which one you want to decide on, that's perfectly fine because you do need a set number of electives, so it'll just go towards another category. Of course, you can't get too crazy with electives because then you'll be here for a long time, but do know your degree is made so that you have some room to explore other areas and it won't set you back because you need it anyway.
And if I could just add to that also, I know in the Career Center we love talking to undecided students because a lot of times people come in and they're incredibly creative and have a lot of creative impulses, but they're not sure where they best fit in the world. So from a career perspective, we really want to see what a student's goals are, what it is that they eventually want to accomplish, and frequently we actually support we want students to graduate as soon as possible, but we also support multiple career paths. It's not uncommon for having students that will actually have multiple career paths when they graduate because that's how their creative interests lie. And we want to make sure that when they graduate, that they have the tools they need in order to succeed in different areas that they're interested in pursuing.
Selena, I'd like to build off of your answer a little bit because we had another person ask about AP scores and how they factor into whether we give them credit for core classes or electives. Does it depend on the particular major that they have, or is there sort of a universal rule that's applied to all students?
Yes. So for AP classes, most of them, the ones that I've seen, usually go towards your liberal arts and sciences, so your gen ed, you can think of it that way. If they, and there's several categories within the LAS bucket, so there's science, your math, your social sciences, humanities literature, English, so there's quite a few. If they do not fall into any of those categories within the LAS, they will just go towards electives. To be honest, I haven't seen many for majors. And just thinking about the majors that I work with, primarily filmmaking and television, I haven't seen many AP exams that were equivalent to our courses. But for the most part, if there will, for AP exams, they will most likely go towards the LAS core or college-wide electives. We have a chart online. I don't know if it's possible to add that, Andrew. I know you're listening somewhere, but there's an AP exam table where you can look at the exam that you took or maybe taken, and you can see the equivalency, so it'll tell you how we would accept the course.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So speaking of acceptances, Kelly asked, when will we be notifying students of acceptances, and then when are financial aid offers made? So David and Marie, I know that we're doing things a little bit differently about this year. If you two want to sort of jump in and talk a little bit about the new processes of what people can expect to see in that acceptance kit this year.
Sure. I can start that. So the average Columbia student, after completing their application, is usually going to get a decision from us within 4 weeks. We're a rolling admissions school. This year, initial decisions are going to be released at the end of this month. So that's when our first round of admit students will receive an acceptance award from Columbia, and decisions will continue to go out throughout the year because we do have rolling admissions. The new format, the new way that we're doing this, is that you will also receive an initial kind of merit scholarship offering within your acceptance letter. So that is not necessarily your award letter. Your award letter is really kind of what you're looking for, that's going to give you a really individualized kind of breakdown of what your costs are going to be. But you are going to get that initial scholarship offering with your acceptance kit. So again, decisions going out starting at the end of this month in the next couple of days. And on average, once your application is totally completed, you're going to get a response from us as to whether or not you've been admitted within 4 weeks. Is there anything I missed, David?
The financial aid, like the loans, grants, that should be coming, I believe, in November, if not December, to get your full award letter package.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think this is going to be sort of a Marie Selena question, but do you mind talking a little bit about the core curriculum here and maybe what differentiates it from what people might see at other schools? Or what makes it the same as other schools, either way.
Yes. Okay, so we have actually revamped our core, just kind of bringing it a bit more up to date and just giving students more transferable skills when they're graduating. So really kind of putting more business in there, putting things like programming in there, so students again are prepared on all fronts, as Dirk was saying, so that they're kind of ready with transferable skills, whatever they might encounter. So the core, it is changing a little bit, but as Selena had talked earlier about us being a liberal arts and science institution, that is really never going to change. So students are always going to be required to do a few English classes, a math class, some humanities classes, social science classes, history classes, things of that nature. With liberal arts at Columbia specifically, I had already talked a little bit about us being a hands-on school, so you are not front-loaded with your liberal arts and sciences. It's not as if you show up here as a freshman or a first-year transfer student and a schedule is completely dictated to you and it's handed to you and you only get to choose from one of the 20 history classes offered because you're a freshman. We don't really do it that way here. We want you to find liberal arts and science classes that are going to really support what you're interested in and are also going to kind of support the work you're doing within your major. One of the big parts of the liberal arts core, or just the core in general, is the Big Chicago class, which is really the only class you're going to have on campus where you're going to have, it could be as many as 100 students in this class. And that is a really awesome class, and it's one of the highest rated classes on campus because it gives you a chance to network and get to know students from across the college, as well as get lessons and lectures and info from faculty across the college. And you'll still have these small breakout groups as well, so you'll still get more of that individualized attention as you would with any class that we have here. But is there anything I'm missing with liberal arts or the core?
I was just thinking, I guess our writing intensive, U.S. pluralism and global awareness, how those make us unique. And again, this is me talking from an advisor perspective, but it's my understanding that those are unique and different from many other colleges. I don't know if we want to go into those four, if it's worth it. So the U.S. pluralism is studying any minoritized or marginalized community within the United States. And then global awareness is studying everyone outside of us. So you have to learn about other countries. And then writing intensive is a course that has a research component. From my understanding, those are very, very unique to Columbia College. And just to add to that, a lot of times when students are transferring credits in, we do prefer that you take those categories here because they're just so unique to our curriculum. So those are great. And if you think about it, whatever kind of artist you want to be, you need those categories to shape and inform the work that you do. So a lot of times students look at it as, what is this extra? Why do I need this? But it's just going to make you a better artist. It's better for your practice.
Okay. Thank you. Dirk, I think this is a you question. Constantina is wondering about what type of work study offerings Columbia has and how students qualify for those.
Sure. Columbia has quite a wide range of work study options. Students work in TV studios, they work in the journalism department, they work in the Career Center, they work in other departments, and really there's a lot of opportunity for students. And what we have is we have online job boards. Students can go as soon as they are registered for courses and start looking at what opportunities are currently available. And frequently it's the beginning of the semester is when most of the availability is there. So if you're accepted and you come to Columbia College, as soon as if you're interested in work study, start the process right away. And the other piece I encourage students to do is not just look for the job in the department that they're interested in working, but go to that department and talk to them and find out a little more about the position and what they're doing, because that way you're building a professional relationship with the people in that department or that office. So when you apply, they're going to see you as someone who is really serious about what it is you're trying to do. We also have quite a few work study options, so if you do qualify for work study, you have the ability to actually receive funding through the government for that part.
This next question is something I think that all of you will be able to answer. You may be speaking from your job here as a staff member, or maybe just your personal experience, that how can students take advantage of Chicago? David, you mind kicking us off with that one?
Take advantage of Chicago. All of the different neighborhoods, you know, I would say you're gonna, if you're full-time, which probably the majority of you will be, you'll have the U-Pass, which is unlimited bus and train rides in Chicago during the semester. You can feel free to use that to explore. Once you get to know the first couple weeks the South Loop, where Columbia is, get outside of the South Loop and go and visit Wrigleyville, Pilsen, Logan Square, Wicker Park, to see the different neighborhoods and how they're a little bit unique for each neighborhood.
This one still got me thinking, and it's odd because I've been here all my life, so I'm a native, I'm a Chicagoan since birth, so I'm trying to think, and there's just so much, and I was gonna go along with the neighborhood aspect, because it's rich in culture. A lot of different people live here in Chicago, and I'm just thinking about the world you all see, I mean the lens that you all look at the world through as artists, as creatives. I think Chicago has a lot to offer on that front. So yeah, for sure the neighborhoods and the culture and the different people. That's all for me for now. Maybe I'll circle back, but for sure just the diversity. Make sure you get out of the South Loop and just explore other communities, and I'm sure it'll somehow influence any part of your work or interest that you might have.
I would say that I have to travel for admissions quite a bit, and usually to like larger cities that have their own like arts and culture scenes. And a lot of times when I'm traveling there, I'm also working with alumni who are now living in those cities. So like Austin, Atlanta, New York City, LA, Seattle, Portland, like major cities, obviously. And one of the things that alumni always kind of share with me is that really one of the huge differences between Chicago's art scene, art, music, whatever it might be, and some of these other scenes in other cities is that Chicago scene's very accessible. So you don't have to necessarily arrive here and like be someone or know the right people. I mean, the venues are vast, the galleries are vast. If you have the drive and you have the talent, a city like Chicago that at its core is Midwestern and is going to recognize and appreciate hard work and appreciate the hustle, you can find opportunities, you can take advantage of things. So you can get some of that exposure on campus at our venues and at our galleries and different things that we do, but you can also do that off campus throughout Chicago too.
And I'll just build on what everyone's been talking about because Chicago is really unique. It's a really vibrant community, and there's a lot more opportunities now where both technology and creativity are coming together. So Columbia is becoming this town that really supports incubation of ideas and new ideas. And that's been a really exciting thing to see happen. And I think Chicago has really kind of matured in its creativity in many ways. And in that process, I think the college has had a lot to do with that because most of the people working in the creative communities have either been at Columbia, attended, graduated Columbia, or know somebody. So there's this amazing web of people in Chicago that all have a connection some way back to the college. And the college has done a lot of partnerships with the city, with private investors, with different areas in order to really build up this arts community to what it is today. So it's a kind of a playground for creative individuals to check out a lot of different opportunities.
Great, thank you. We have a question about the different residence halls that are offered to incoming freshmen. Marie, I think this is you.
Sure. So when you apply for housing to Columbia, you actually are not necessarily applying to a specific residence hall. You're more so applying for the type of room you want to live in. So that being said, I'm kind of just going to share info that is applicable to like all of the housing that we have. So 3 different residence halls on campus. They are majority apartment style, so they're indicative of what living in an urban environment would be. That being said, yes, they're apartment style, but they're still traditional residence halls. You have laundry facilities, mail facilities, RAs, you have social programming, you have 24-hour security, but on top of that, they're designed with creative students in mind. So they have art studio space, music studio space, there's graffiti floors. That social programming I mentioned is geared towards our students and what their interests are as well. And all of the residence halls are within walking distance to all of the academic buildings. So it's not mandatory that you live on campus, but it's highly, highly recommended, especially for our first year students, especially if they're coming from out of state or outside of Chicagoland, that they are living on campus. That being said, we get a ton of awesome students from Chicago and the suburbs, and you're all welcome to live on campus as well. So we have a lot of space, and we really do encourage it so that you really do feel connected to the community, so that when you're coming and moving into the city for the first time, you get to kind of ease into it a little bit more. You get to be around a bunch of people who are kind of experiencing that same first time in the big city or first time living on your own type of experience. And also, in addition to that, I know we do have a handful of commuter students, well, a large population of commuter students, and we are constructing the new student center. That will also be a hub for our students to socially engage, to be able to find comfort and find a place to relax on campus, even if they don't have like a dormitory room to go to. So housing is great. There's a lot of different options. And we do have cafeteria on campus, so you can purchase a meal plan. It is not mandatory because you are living in apartment style housing, but I know Mom and Dad worry about their students maybe not getting proper nourishment. So even if you don't want to go with the full meal plan, you can do a partial meal plan and just kind of get a meal a day. And we are in the South Loop, so District 1. We're walking distance to Targets that have grocery stores, a Whole Foods, a Jewel Osco, which is a major chain grocery store, a Trader Joe's, so you can still live like affordably and feed yourself and be within our housing in this neighborhood.
Great, that's a perfect answer. Dirk, we talked a little bit about internships and then WorkStudy, but can you speak broadly about some of the resources that the Career Center offers to students?
Sure. First off, as soon as you get on campus, we want to meet with new students as soon as possible. We believe that the career process starts, hopefully you're in it right now and you already have thought about your career and what you want to do. We really want to get to know you. We want to be able to respond to what your goals are. And so there's quite a few ways that we do that. We have an online job board. You can make appointments with us. You can sign up for events. We have every week we have some type of event going on. Usually professionals are brought in. Just this weekend on Saturday, if any of you attended, we had the media conference, which I think is the 4th year we've had this, where we had hundreds of students down here, both mainly high school students and several college students. But we have this connection with the industry where we bring professionals in as much as possible. And we want you to meet as many professionals as possible earlier on in your career here at Columbia College. We also have a Big Interview, which is a way, if you have a job interview, it's an interviewing platform where you can actually practice your interviews and learn about interviewing. We have Portfolium, which is our portfolio system, and students, as soon as they start here at the college, they can start building out their portfolio. And then we have professionals in our office that can actually review your portfolio once you have it started. And this is more from a career perspective rather than an academic perspective. So those are just a few of the ways that we work with students here at the college.
David, do you mind walking us through a little bit the different financial aid packages? So we have the Academic Merit Scholarship, then people can apply for grants, and then on top of that there will be the portfolio scholarships considered later on. Do you mind just touching base on all what the differences are and what students might expect to see?
Yeah, so as I talked about earlier, so you'll do your FAFSA when you apply for Columbia at our school code. Then once you're accepted here, I believe first you'll be offered a scholarship if you're applicable for that. And then there's a few different types. There's, at least we had in the past, the Dean's one, which is just on merit. You have the Columbia Scholar Award, which is merit and need. And then if you have your turn in your body of work, that is called the Faculty Recognition Award. Make sure you get that in by the middle of January, as was stated before. So those are more of the scholarships, but then also when you do the FAFSA, some need-based items you may see on there is if you're an Illinois resident, you may be eligible for the MAP grant. If you also, you may be eligible for the Pell Grant. Then you have your subsidized and unsubsidized loans, which could be on your award letter also. Subsidized, you don't have to pay interest on while you're in school. The unsubsidized, you do pay interest on while you're in school. You don't have to repay both of those loans back until 6 months after you graduate from college. And then also there's the option of the Parent Plus loan, which would be a loan in your parents' name. They would fill that out at studentloans.gov that they can use to help fill that remaining gap.
Great, thank you. And building off of that question just a little bit, can you also talk about international scholarships?
International. I know we are offering new scholarships for international students. I believe it's the first semester or first year. Do you know more about those?
I unfortunately do not know a ton about international student scholarships. I do know that our international students last year were eligible for the Faculty Recognition Award. That could be changing, but all the information for international scholarships is in the process of being updated on our website. So you know that.
Perfect.
And I would just say overall, just to maximize your scholarship opportunities, just to read it again, apply here, be accepted, then do the FAFSA, and submit that creative work for your portfolio, then you could maximize your opportunities.
Right. Marie, we had a question from somebody who's applying via the Common App, but then we have additional materials that are due beyond that. Can you just walk through what the process is that students do go through that method of applying?
Sure. So if you're utilizing the Common App, you know, it's pretty common practice that most colleges have like an additional supplement. Most colleges request something we want in addition to kind of the basic things that the Common App requests. For us, those are our 2 short answer writing samples. Common App is going to ask you for kind of a longer essay, college essay, and we're going to take that into consideration when we're looking at your file because that is included within your application package. But in addition to that, there's these 2 short answer questions that we ask. One of them asks you why Columbia, why you're interested in Columbia, and the other question focuses more on how you think your creative pursuits could kind of author the culture of your time or, you know, change things within the world and the type of impact you want your work to have. Those 2 short answer questions, they're anywhere from 100 to 250 words, and it's just an opportunity for us to get to know more about you. Also with the Common App and with Columbia's application, it's not required that you submit creative work to us, but if you wanted to, that would be another kind of additional supplement that you'd be taking on through either application.
Selena, can you please talk a little bit about what academic advising does and the role that the Academic Advising Center plays in student lives while they're here at Columbia?
Yes, I'll be happy to talk about that. So the College Advising Center, there's a number of advisors, and you will be assigned one depending on your major. You'll stay with that advisor as long as you have that major. So if you switch majors, there'll be another advisor depending on that major. What we are here for is to get you to graduation, to answer any questions you might have about your degree requirements, and that includes majors, minors, your gen ed, which is again our liberal arts and sciences, LAS core. We talk about, I guess, some things outside of your major and maybe your gen ed requirements. We talk about what it takes to be in good standing at Columbia. So I would say that's pretty much it. Just any academic questions about that would get you to graduation, we can answer. Some of the academic advisors have backgrounds in their majors, so you might find that if you're working with a creative writing advisor, for example, like he might have a background in that and some don't. So that's one thing to remember. When you come to the Advising Center, we will for sure have your answers answers to your questions about like what academic requirements are necessary for your degree, and we could answer some about the major, but for the most part, when you have specific questions about majors, that's when we want you to connect with faculty members. Just wanted to throw that in there because I think it's although it wasn't a part of the question, I think it's a common misunderstanding. So we drive that home a lot. We can answer those general academic questions and some about the majors, but we do encourage students to connect with faculty members for specific questions and mentorship through those because they're the experts in their field.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then we also have a question about what study abroad opportunities Columbia offers. I don't know who's the best one. Marie, Selena, it might be one of you two.
I can start it. So Columbia offers study abroad pretty much like all accredited colleges do. We do it a little bit differently, of course, like we do everything here at Columbia. There are opportunities for direct exchange programs. We have relationships with, I believe, 6 to 8 schools internationally. So we send students to study there for a semester. They send students to study with us. We also have the opportunity for students to study abroad as it relates to their major. A lot of these can be done during J-term, which is a semester that we have in January. It's about a month long, but they also happen throughout the year as well. So like there's opportunities for our design students to go to Florence. We had past opportunities for writing students to go to Prague. There are some like what am I trying to say? Like in-state opportunities. So like your domestic study abroad opportunities. If you were to participate in semester in LA, that would be you as a student going out to our campus on Raleigh studio lots and taking classes out in LA and living out there and doing a mandatory internship as part of that program. I know Business and Entrepreneurship has an opportunity for the music business students to go to South by Southwest, which happens in Austin, Texas. Outside of some of those more specific examples, if there's something that we don't offer that you want to do as it pertains to studying abroad, you can meet with one of our counselors within Study Abroad and they can set that up for you. And the way that any study abroad opportunity is typically done here at Columbia is that it's really not going to be any additional cost to you. Your classes are going to be transferable. You're still going to be knocking out the credits that you need to graduate. And really the only additional cost you could potentially be taking on would really be related to travel for the most part. Is there anything I'm missing about study abroad?
That was great. The only thing I would add from the advising perspective is that most times studying abroad will count towards like those gen eds, again, the LAS core and the college-wide electives. Very rarely are there programs that will count towards the major. There are some, don't get me wrong, but it's rarer. So I would just encourage you all, I guess if you know you want to study abroad, come talk to an advisor early on. And make sure you're saving those college-wide electives for your abroad program so that you're not going over what you need.
Dirk, do you mind talking a little bit about some of the opportunities that students might be able to take on soon after they graduate, some of the types of jobs that students, newer alumni, get to have the ability to take part in?
Sure, we have students starting jobs after graduation all over the country, actually sometimes all over the world. As Marie mentioned, there's a semester in LA program where we have a lot of students that are getting jobs and internships afterwards. Here in Chicago, there are a lot of students that work in post-production houses for editing on the various productions that come through Chicago, anything from Empire to Chicago Hospital PD, just whatever the adjective is or the noun is afterwards. So there's quite a few opportunities there. Students work at Google, at Facebook, different tech companies as well, and a lot of game design. So game design's been a growing area of interest, and so we have a lot of students that are working, helping out in game design in various companies across the country, and motion graphics as well, doing a lot of visual effects, another area that's really big. So it's probably easier to talk specifics by a certain area of interest, but there are an amazing amount of students working in television stations and publishing houses across the country.
Cool. Marie, if a student is unable to make it to open house, what are some of the other ways they can come visit us on campus?
Sure, there's lots of opportunity. Best place to kind of source these opportunities is colum.edu/visit. We update that as more opportunities become available, so it's good to check in. If you can't make it to open house, it's a great idea to come for a tour. We offer tours year round, and again, colum.edu/visit is where you can sign up for those. Try to choose a day that kind of specifically might target your major. You'll find all that info online. It's very important when you're looking at a college to really get on campus so you can get an idea of fit and really get the essence of the environment and try to be able to see yourself there. So of course there's the campus tours that provide that. Once you are an admitted student, we have admitted student days. Those are Fridays and Saturdays that are really jam-packed with a bunch of info that's very specific to admitted students and is really going to kind of give you a bunch of information to help you make your decision to hopefully enroll and decide to come to Columbia. Outside of that, for students that are like freshmen, sophomores, or juniors, we have things called preview days. Those will be throughout the spring, and when I say that, I mean like kind of like February through April, and a preview day is a very department-specific day. So like the School of Media Arts will have their own preview day, and that's an opportunity for you to come down to campus and not only then meet with admissions people, but it's another day where you're going to be able to really kind of engage with faculty members. So coming to campus and visiting is a really great experience. You know, you don't just have to visit once. It's great to do multiple visits if you're able to do that. But yes, please keep visiting that part of our website. We'll send you invitations via mail, via email, just to make sure that all of the upcoming visits that would be helpful for you are on your radar.
And then David, building off of that, a little bit further down the road, some of these people are going to be admitted students and they're going to want to know how to pay for college. Will they have the opportunity to meet with financial services to set up payment plans and such?
Yes, yeah, they can meet with us on admitted student days if they want, or they can even come after admitted student days at any point. We will go through with you kind of like what's that remaining balance. If you are not going to elect to use the PLUS loan, any type of, you look at your third-party options too. So if you have a 529 college savings plan, any type of external scholarships, your parents, maybe they have an employer that's going to help with tuition, veteran benefits, and then after you look at all of your funding sources, you can determine if you're going to have like the out-of-pocket remaining balance, and then you can set up a payment plan with us, and we can go through those numbers with you. Payment plans, they do automatically withdraw, and they're really easy to set up.
Alex, can I mention, I just want to mention one more thing about visits. We realize sometimes people can't always get to campus just because of your schedules or because of costs. If you are a student who is out of state, we have opportunities for you to engage with Columbia alumni, to engage with admissions people in your neighborhood. So we have things like Dinner with Columbia, we have Columbia Sessions, we have Coffee Chats, which is a one-on-one where you'd be able to sit down with someone from the admissions team and really talk in depth about a potential Columbia experience for you. And that again reiterates my point as to why to check that visit page often, because we come to you and there's opportunities that are ever changing for you to come to us too.
Thank you. Great. So here's a very broad question. Again, this is something that I think everyone will be able to answer because I'm asking a lot based more on personal experience than your job as staff members. But is Chicago safe for students? Who wants to kick us off?
I'll start that.
Great, thank you.
I'll start that because I'm in admissions and we get that question quite a bit. I want to kind of like bring it in a little bit and just talk more about Columbia in Chicago. So where Columbia is located is in District 1. So District 1 is one of the safest inner city districts within Chicago. It is a commercial district, it's a tourism district. So obviously the city is very interested and invested in keeping this neighborhood safe. If you are from Chicago or you've ever traveled here, we're in the neighborhood of Grant Park. Like Lollapalooza is happening in our front yard. We're by Museum Campus, Soldier Field. There are also a number of different colleges and universities that are located in our neighborhood as well. So if you're just looking at security and statistics, like the South Loop where we are located, where Columbia is a very secure neighborhood where you can feel safe. It's really unfortunate, the bad rap that Chicago gets as a city as a whole, and it's unfortunate that some of the neighborhoods where you see some more of those higher crime statistics are not being served in the same way that this neighborhood is in the South Loop of Chicago. And that violence that happens in those neighborhoods, while they are not necessarily near to the South Loop of Chicago or necessarily kind of infiltrate this neighborhood, you know, we're all affected in whole. We have students coming from those neighborhoods that are great students here at Columbia and are part of our community. But just that being said, the South Loop of Chicago, again, it's a very, very safe neighborhood and a place where you as a student should feel comfortable and secure, and we've really done a lot to make sure that you have that sense when you're here. But I'm sure everyone has different things to add to this conversation.
That was a lovely response, especially about the parts that are not so safe and then probably just not receiving enough resources and support from the city. Yeah, I would say Chicago is safe. I think like every other place, there's crime, there's people who are not nice and do things to hurt you, but that's everywhere. I think the best part or word of advice I would give everyone is just to be careful. And you should do that everywhere you go. Travel with other people, be an active bystander. If you see something happen, speak up about it. But yeah, just thinking about it in the general sense, like crime and mean people who are looking to harm are everywhere. But the city is beautiful. The South Loop is one of the safer neighborhoods in Chicago. And then you can venture off and try other things, and that's okay. You're just exploring it. Just keep an open mind. Always travel with friends and be careful no matter where you are. Even in the South Loop, don't let your guards down. Always keep that in mind.
And I just would add to that, I think really great responses so far. Asking people who are familiar with the city, hey, is this a safe area to go? Am I going to be okay? And I guarantee you too, based on people's understanding of an area, you're going to get different responses, because some people are from certain areas in Chicago and say, oh yeah, I've never had a problem there. And that person that lives there has had that experience, that Chicago is a safe place. And there's other areas where you probably will not go if you're from out of town. And so really, I think as a whole, the area around the college is very, very safe, and most of the areas you're going to travel in Chicago will be safe places.
Thank you. So I think we're just going to take 2 more questions. The first is going to be a little bit more specific. We've talked a little bit about portfolios. There does seem to be quite a bit of interest in these. Any final tips on portfolios and anything students should be aware of as they're working towards that January 15th submittal date?
Ask for help, ask for assistance. Talk to any of your art instructors or anyone you know you might be having private instruction from if it's related to voice or acting, and just have them help you curate down what you've put together. If you need to select monologues that you're going to be like recording yourself doing and submitting kind of that digital audition, ask an instructor, ask a teacher what their opinion is. The more questions you can ask, the more opinions you get. Not that you have to take them all, and don't let them throw you off too much, but it might kind of help you arrive at ultimately really what you want to submit. And just be aware on the application, when you select your major, the program you're attending to, the program you're specifically interested in at Columbia, when you go to that portfolio link, it's going to give you a pretty solid idea of what you should be submitting. So just kind of follow that. There's a lot to be said for just following some simple instruction, and it can probably lead you in the right way. So, and I know a lot of students might be in AP Studio art classes and they're seniors, and even though they're applying now and they've completed their application, they want to wait on submitting creative work, and that is A-okay. Like Alex said, just make sure it's in by the 15th of January.
Any other tips that anybody knows? All right, then this is our last question for the night, and this is something I hope all panelists will be able to answer. Why is Columbia College Chicago special? I know, it's a doozy.
Right.
I'll start. I have been working here for 18 years, and there's a lot to love about this place. It's it's a place that changes on a regular basis. And it adapts to what's happening in the creative industries and the creative fields. I think that there's a lot of people here that are really dedicated to student success. They want to see you succeed, and they're willing to go above and beyond and go out of their way in order to make that happen. So I think that overall there's a lot of people that really are coming back to the college or connecting with the college to teach, to provide support to students in your situation that are looking to get a career started in the creative fields. So I think that synergy that happens, and then also the connection of alumni, how excited alumni are to reconnect with students here at the college, it makes it a pretty unique place.
Sure. I think one of the things that's really special about Columbia, I think if you compare us to other art schools, is really that our students are very focused in how to understand the practical outcomes of what it is that they're studying. Yes, I want to do this very creative thing and I have lofty goals and I'm doing different creative pursuits, but what is an actual job that I can have as it relates to that? And what other skills can I attain while I'm at Columbia that aren't just me developing my own point of view and my style and really kind of becoming the best graphic artist or the best painter that I can possibly be? It's more so, what do I need to know business-wise? How can I trademark my work? What kind of savvy do I need in interviews? The fact that our students are kind of hungry for this information, and the fact that it's really part of our coursework is really something that's unique and special, and I really do think prepares students and sets them up for success after graduation.
Okay, I would say, just from my time being here, I just celebrated my 1-year work anniversary. I would just, the passion, I feel like the students here have a passion like no other institution, just for the work, and also just to learn more. Like, students have come in my office, and again, my backgrounds are, my degrees are not in filmmaking and television, but I'll hear a student come in my office and they'll have questions about what courses they want to take, and also the work that they've done already that relates to the coursework, or that they assume relates to the coursework, and it's just, it fuels my fire to learn more about the content and just to work with them, because they're so passionate and they're so creative and they're so involved with everything. So I think you'll find a community, a network of hardworking students, of faculty members who care, staff who care, and that passion just drives you and fuels you along, even though the winters get cold and sometimes you start not talking to your roommate anymore, or whatever might happen. You might be struggling in a class, but that passion still lives, and it's, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing to witness. So that's what I would say is unique about Columbia compared to the other institutions I've been at, is that creative energy is like none other, especially for me, being someone who does not have a creative background.
I have two perspectives from Columbia. One is because I was a student here. I graduated from Columbia, and what I think was special about it when I went here is I like the smaller class sizes that you can have. You really do have a relationship with your professor, your teacher, whatever you want to call them, and you can call them by their first names, so it's pretty cool that way. It's a one-on-one basis. Also, like, you're going to know the students in your classes because they are, there is a smaller class size. I think it's special. I like the electives when I was here, your gen eds that I took. They have the Science of Natural Disasters, which was a really cool class. Geometry and the arts. I don't know many other colleges that may have that to fill my math requirement. So like my final project was the geometry of chips and crackers, so that was pretty cool. I really got involved with that, and the teacher loved it. And then also, if you get a chance to work on campus, that's really beneficial too, because then you create that community with your peers. Then from a staff perspective, for myself who works in the financial aid office, I know Columbia, like, we really care, go above and beyond for each individual student. As far as, like, if you have more financial aid than charges, you're going to get a refund, and I know we are very fast at getting you your money and your refund. We'll also really reach out to you if we see anything on your account. I'll track accounts, and if I see something I'm not going to wait for you to reach out to me. If I see it, I want to help you out, and I'm going to reach out to you. I know that's done through all departments at Columbia, that one-on-one attention, because we really do go above and beyond because we want to see you succeed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you to our panelists. That concludes today's Facebook Live Q&A. Thank you for all the questions and comments throughout the evening. If you have questions that we weren't able to get to, please feel free to message us through our Facebook page, and we will follow up. Thank you to our wonderful panelists, our ASL interpreter, and the student crew at Frequency TV that helped us put it all together. For those of you who might be interested, our open house will take place this Saturday, September 27th, so check out colum.edu/open house to learn more. And we do hope to see all of you folks on campus, and that you have a great night. Thank you.